The U.S. increasingly relies on private contractors in foreign military operations. As a result, wars are becoming less obvious to the public. RT's Brigida Santos joins me now from Los Angeles with that story. Brigida, how are you? Listen, why is it important to have a public debate about the growing use of military contractors nowadays? If you look at the numbers, no time in history besides the Korean War and the Vietnam War have we seen the Pentagon getting as much money as they're getting right now, squandering it basically on contractors. Give me your take.
Well, it's important because private military contractors allow presidents to flex American muscle without congressional oversight. Because it's not always clear how private mercenary armies are formed, where they operate, or even what their missions consist of. The Pentagon doesn't typically even track private troop deaths, and this is done by design. It's a clever way to circumvent democratic accountability for military force, and it's more convenient. The public doesn't seem to care as much when it hears that paid American military contractors are dying in conflict zones than when they see U.S. service members sent home in body bags. For example, there wasn't a big media reaction when several military contractors were killed this month in Kenya.
Well, there's almost a standing joke in Washington, D.C. right now and around the Virginia area, and that is that there are more mansions built by military contractors than there ever have been in Washington, D.C. It sounds like simpleton talk, but it's not. That's the actual truth, because the Pentagon is sucking so much money from the economy and putting it into the hands of military contractors, who, by the way, I thought this is incredible, those same military contractors, the Pentagon spent $40 million on a gas station in the middle of nowhere in one of the desert conflicts in Afghanistan. So if you look at the whole money, it's, what is it, $2 trillion that they've squandered? And I'm wondering, how many contractors does the Department of Defense currently have working overseas? I mean, at least on paper, what does it look like?
Well, according to the data, during the first quarter of fiscal year 2020, U.S. Central Command reported over 50,000 supporting contractor personnel in the U.S. CENTCOM area of responsibility, which spans across at least 20 countries. The area of responsibility encompasses globally vital commercial sea lanes, flight corridors, and pipelines. CENTCOM's forces focus on regions where U.S. national interests and the interests of its trusted partners are at risk. Some of those regions include Afghanistan, as you said, Iraq, and Syria, where private contractors have been sent to assist. Now, it's important to note that not all contractors are there in a combat capacity. Some are there for transportation, medical services, and logistics. But the point is, the number of contractors has been on the rise, and that trend is likely to continue. It's important to note that when President Trump says that he's going to bring home the troops, it doesn't necessarily mean that U.S. wars are over. It might just mean that they're about to go corporate through this privatization.
Well, let me tell you something that the Pentagon engineered that most viewers don't understand. There's something that's called qui tam. It's called a whistleblower case, okay? The Trump administration has said to the Department of Justice, ignore whistleblower cases that are related to Pentagon money. Okay, they're still bringing Pentagon cases, they're still bringing cases in qui tam if it has to do with hospital corruption, which is a good thing. But can you imagine getting to the point where you have a Pentagon that has more money than they've ever had since Vietnam or Korea, and on top of that, to make it worse, the administration saying, when we find out that they're actually involved in corruption, don't prosecute those cases. When did this trend towards privatization begin? Because that's part of the problem here, isn't it?
It's a huge part of the problem because, again, it doesn't allow for oversight when you hire these contractors. They're not subject to the same laws necessarily that the government would be. Now, it didn't start with President Trump. He's just taking it to the next level. In 2016, under President Obama, more private military contractors died in Iraq and Afghanistan than all U.S. troops deployed to those countries, meaning mercenaries were the silent majority of Obama's military. Under George W. Bush's administration, Blackwater employees killed 17 Iraqi civilians in Nisour Square. The Blackwater contractors were prosecuted, but the company's founder, Erik Prince, was not, and he's now working behind the scenes as an unofficial figure in the Trump administration. Prince has publicly advocated for replacing American troops in Syria and Afghanistan with more contractors. And during the Bush administration, contractors were also hired, let's not forget, to run the CIA's torture program. At the end of last year, the families of over 100 service members who were killed in U.S. conflicts sued major defense contractors for reportedly making illegal protection payments to the Taliban to prevent the terror group from attacking their business interests. The bottom line here, Mike, is that these corporate military forces conduct semi-official, plausibly deniable military operations, often using taxpayer money in our names when it's really on behalf of protecting multinational corporations. We're really just creating, a global market for war by allowing these mercenaries to go in and fight wars for profit.
Corporate media is not helping tell this story, so thank you for joining me so we can at least get it out there a little bit. Thank you, Brigitte.
Anytime, Mike.